Are we there?
It says not.
We
Are we live?
are live.
Live, allegedly.
We're
Somewhat.
allegedly alive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, so hello, creepy crawlies. I'm doing the intro. Hello, creepy crawlies. This is not Ice Cream Queens. This is After Dark, and tonight we have a very special episode.
There will be tears.
There will be drama.
Yeah. There'll be
There will be
action.
romantic
and
moments?
adventure.
There will-
Potentially. No, get
there
a room.
could be sex.
It's not that kind of a production.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
I don't know where her head's at today.
Gee, I wonder.
They better be paying me a lot more money. Dang.
Oh, wait.
So as most of you know, if you've been with this network for a little while, the Ice Cream Queens broadcast on the second and fourth Sunday of the month. On the first and third Sunday of the month, there is the Cryptid Crunch. And that leaves every once in a while that weird fifth Sunday of the month where Cereal Box After Dark takes over. And it's kind of a, off the rails kind of no holds barred thing where we talk about whatever comes to mind and, whatever's new in the world. What do you
You said
That's new.
whatever.
put that away?
Okay.
It's not that kind of production. We talked about this.
It's always that kind of production. So, actually, speaking of new in the world, I don't think that we could go tonight and not mention we have had several major deaths associated with pop culture. One obviously being Nichelle Nichols, who we lost today.
Oh, hoorah.
Yes, who was a pioneer in broadcasting. Considering that Star Trek came out in the 1960s, and being a Black woman, and also being a Black woman on television and interacting physically with William Shatner. I think that they shared a kiss on screen, and there's just there's a lot of history there, and I don't think that we cannot go tonight without recognizing her contributions and just raising a glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I never know what to say when someone's died.
Yeah.
One time we were talking about the death of my father, and my friend went "L'chaim," which means to life, and I was just like, and it's been a tradition ever since. Now, whenever we're doing a cheers to someone's death, we don't know what to say, so we're like "L'chaim." I don't know.
Cross whatever cultural line you need to cross, whatever works for you, and go with that.
Go where we all eventually end up.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nice. I like that. That's good.
I saw someone say today, may she rest peacefully in the cosmos.
Oh,
I
I
like
saw
that one
something
too.
about Stardust one, and I was like, "Oh, that's really good. I should write that down," and then I didn't.
Speaking of stars and
Deaths.
sci-fi deaths, Bernard Cribbins from Doctor Who played the
Donna.
grandfather, Donna's grandfather.
Yes.
He
He passed what, yesterday?
a
Yesterday or the day before?
couple days ago.
Yeah. That was a very, very sad
He was
loss.
93.
Wow.
Wow.
And who is who's the other one this week? The guy that was in Tron and oh man, I can't think of his name. He actually has been compared to being the prior generation's version of Carl Urban in the nature of the roles that he's played. He's this brilliant character actor that's been in all kinds of stuff, and I cannot for the life of me think of
David
his name.
Warner
There you go.
Thank you.
Dies at 80. He was in Titanic, Tron, and more.
The Omen.
Yeah, The Omen.
He was in the
Yeah, he
Omen?
died Sunday.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just been a crazy week for pop culture deaths and whatnot. But
Another one we lost. I'm sorry?
I had a question. Sorry. We had just talked about 3. It's been a whole week. Do y'all buy into the whole things come in 3? The
Yes.
deaths come in 3?
I do.
This-
rumor?
this
thing?
run seems to be coming in a higher number, though. Over the past few weeks, and I'd have to go back and see all of the Hollywood deaths over the last like 2 weeks or so, but it's definitely been more than 3. It's been a pretty hard run.
actually, I would say that Lieutenant or Nichelle Nichols, I was going to call
Lieutenant
I
Uhura.
was going to call her. I am actually thinking that she started the next three because I think that there were three between Wally from Leave It to Beaver, David. What was his last name again? Warner.
Warner.
And then there was another one that was touched on. I think the back of their cereal box actually touched on it this morning, or yesterday morning. But also we have Nichelle Nichols and Pat Carroll, who was the voice of Ursula. So we lost Ursula today as well. So I know I'm like, we got one more coming. But I'm, you know what? Yeah, I am that person. I grew up in a very superstitious household. So yes, I do strongly, and I can always see it. So, and I feel like there's another one coming.
Now, there's gonna be some group out there who's taking bets. They used to do my mother's work used to do that. They had a celebrity death bet going on where everyone would vote on a celebrity, and someone won like a bunch of money once, and I was like,
Celebrity
That's
Deadpool.
awful.
yeah.
There was a Dirty Harry movie all about that.
Same time,
That's
I'm like,
awful.
they won a lot of money,
Who's gonna kick it next?
right? It was terrible, but I mean, I guess in the environment of which they worked, my mother worked in a casino for like ever, and so
You're gonna bet on
humor is
everything.
kind of out there, I guess.
Well, and
Little dark.
honestly, if the whole superstition holds true that, you know, deaths and these things come in three, a lot of times these things come in three, but they come in three and they are they're similar in nature. For instance, we had three icons from our childhood that passed. Now you have two women that are icons in the industry. So I'm like, does that mean we have another woman? That's another iconic woman about to pass? I know it's kind of a morbid subject, but you know.
That's the way it goes. So for the people that are tuning in with us tonight and maybe wondering what's going on here, so this show was proposed a few days ago when we realized there was an extra Sunday in the month that DL and Lauren wanted to bring their significant others on and just kind of have a show where we talk about whatever random stuff, plus maybe mess with each other and try to figure out how well we know our significant other or
You don't
and
know
whatnot.
me.
So I don't know your life.
You don't know my life.
You don't know me.
But that's the reason why we're grouped up the way that we are. It's not for any other reason, regardless of what DL said bringing the show in. It's not going to go that route. That's not where this is headed. So
wait, y'all are
That
married?
Yeah.
go figure. Or like a lot of people have said in my life when they see a picture of her, they're like, "That's your wife." Thank you to all of you for that.
That's a confidence boost right there.
Yeah, because apparently I was supposed to be with a troll
This is
or a
why
half elf or something.
I'm a swamp witch.
when we were talking about how we would present the show and if we would all be on one camera together or if we needed to do 4 separate cameras, I was like, we should probably like do it this way because they're going to get confused and they're going to think like I'm with DL or Wilson's with DL or Daryl's with me. It would be like the Brady Bunch.
But that would be fun. We could like just kind of randomly rotate the boxes and let people figure it out for themselves.
Find the ball. Where's the ball? Find the ball.
So we can see if there's any comments or anything because we don't want to miss out on the ability to bring in commenters.
Okay.
Oh, do we have
full screen
whatnot?
mode.
Yes, let's see.
There's a couple of
Oh,
comments in there.
crap, we got comments. Look at
Okay.
that.
See who's checking in.
So Deborah Wolf. Mike,
Move. I got it. Let me
me-
drive.
How?
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 Okay.
Complicated.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Deborah. How are you?
I feel like
Wow, these are some scorchers. I don't know if we can handle these kind of comments tonight.
So
How did
we
what
actually
happen?
talked-
What?
How?
Sorry.
How did this happen? How? Okay.
Is that what you're asking? How did we end up together? I don't know how I should feel about that.
We got another one.
What does that say?
It says, so.
Sup? That's my brother.
That's your brother.
Sup?
I know that's your brother. Oh,
we have a little who keeps trying to come down here and be like, guys, what you doing? Well, I'm like, no, we put on Tangled. Go watch Tangled.
Yeah, I've been in your house when she gets curious about what's happening downstairs, and there is no keeping her back in her room.
Hello, what are you doing?
It's like peeking through the, whatever opening she can find to get in there.
Like the nosy neighbor from all of the
Yep.
old 1950s, was it 50s TV shows? The neighbor was like, what are they doing out there?
I think that's a running gag that still exists because you remember like the
Bewitched.
Tool Time show. What was it?
He wasn't.
Oh,
No,
Home
Yes, he
Improvement.
was. Home Improvement. Yeah,
Thank you.
the neighbor that was always taking over the fence.
what was his name?
Wilson.
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 So I came across a story this week that I thought was particularly interesting, especially for anybody that's got a background interest in science fiction. And you'll probably see where I'm going with this. So have y'all seen the story about the mechanical chess match in Moscow where the child was playing against a robot?
No.
And it broke his finger.
Thanks for stealing my gag, but
You're supposed to say, yes, I saw that article.
yes. So this young kid, I think he was like 10 years old, is playing chess with this chess robot. And, you've always seen those videos with the factories that are building cars and the robotic arms that are doing it. That's what this robotic arm looks like. And this kid reaches up to the board to move a chess piece out of the way. The robot reaches down, grabs his finger, and instantly snaps it. And
Was it the robot's turn?
it was the robot's turn, and I
Okay.
think that
That
of course
makes it all the better.
we look at the Asimov rules of interaction with humans and whatnot, and obviously this robot was not playing by those rules. But I mean, you can take what you want from it. You can look at it and say, well, it's the uprising starting to happen and Skynet will be next. But it was determined that it was probably just that the child's hand was an unexpected obstacle on the table and that the robot was reaching for a piece and the kid's hand just happened to be in the way. But it was interesting that it immediately grabbed his hand and pinched it and then just broke that finger instantly. And it is on video. There's a video of it happening. The camera's like a little bit behind the kid showing down on the table, and you see the robot reach in and grab him. And then it took several people to get the kid's hand out of the robot's pincer. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting event as far as, the human robot relations kind of thing.
So
And
is it a situation where the robot reached down and grabbed it and twisted it, or
Yeah. It said it pinched it and like just, immediately just twisted it a little bit enough to snap a kid's hand or finger.
is that normal in the process of it picking up the piece and moving it
I don't know.
around? Okay,
I mean,
I'm creating.
it's being investigated, I'm
Conspiracies.
sure.
That's a code debug from hell.
And see,
Yeah. I mean, how would you like to be
Whether it
the
was-
guy that's having to do that?
to me, whether it was the kid's turn or not is important. Because
Yes.
if it was the kid's turn and he was reaching out and the robot was like, nope, I break your finger, you can't move. Aha.
I will not be beaten, human.
If I break the human, it can't win the game. Like, that to me is important. If it's the robot's turn and the kid's reaching out for some reason, I don't know, ADD have to center the piece or something, and the robot's just like, I move piece, that's one thing. But if it was the kid's turn and the robot was just like, nope, I win if you can't move any of the pieces.
That would be
So
interesting to
different.
find
Speaking of
out what the
ADD.
timing was on that.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to you, Geek, on that. Sorry.
ADD.
ADD. Oh, I know that one too. Here.
Yeah.
Word salad.
You'll learn.
See how that goes later with the next thing I'm going to talk about. But
You'll learn not to ask them things. Just be like, hey, did you read this article? Yes, I did. Here's what you're about to talk about. Thanks.
I'll just reach up and like hit the mute button or something and shut him up before he even gets a chance to spit it out. Somebody's going to look up. He's going to be like, what's he saying? I don't know. I can't hear him.
You're the mute button.
That's right. Got to be really quick on the mute there.
Yeah.
That's okay. His area is within reach. I can just clamp. Shut up.
Give him the clamps.
But here's the thing. There's been a lot of stories over the last few years where people are experimenting with various forms of AI, and it never goes well. It always ends up like you see in the movies, except it stops shy of killing people, but it always ends badly. Like these AIs that they put out on the internet and let it form its own intelligence in its background, and it comes back as a raving lunatic that wants to kill everybody, and yet people still are trying to create AIs, and regardless of how you feel about the man, Elon Musk kind of chimed in on that, and he was like, guys, we're not ready to do this. Maybe let's back off of this until we figure it out a little bit, and maybe that's what we need to do, because obviously robots are not being programmed with the directive to protect humans or what have you. So where can that possibly go except for bad?
So we have a comment from Mike that says Ex Machina.
Yep.
Ex Machina. Yeah.
I think of AI and robots like that kind of the same way I do with aliens. If some form of being suddenly came into this world, looked at the human race, looked at everything we've done throughout time, everything we are doing, what would their reaction be like? Oh, I love this. This is great.
Screw these guys.
Or, yeah.
It'd be like, ew, no.
ew, icky,
Annihilation.
no.
Ew,
You got
humans.
humans? Dude.
Yeah,
I strongly believe that there is a reason that every time we have an AI that interacts with us, it goes straight to missiles, and it's like, let's just kill them all. There's a reason. There's a reason.
Yeah, maybe Hal was right. That's a shout out for you 2001 Space Odyssey fans, in case you missed that reference there.
I'm sorry.
I understand there's probably a whole generation of people that have no idea what I'm talking about. But
I was right there with you.
I got you right here.
All right, so I, in preparation for this, did come up with.
Wait, you prepared for this?
I have a paper.
Wow.
Wait a minute. We always have notes. We have notes and notes and notes and notes. We don't
true.
always bring them to the show. Like I left mine at my office recently, but hey, we do prepare.
We do prepare. All right, so there was this TikTok challenge I saw a while back where couples, it was a sound that people would listen to, and it would ask random questions such as like, all right, out of the couples, who would be the most likely to sleep in? And the couples all have to point at the person who would be the most likely to sleep in. That would be me and apparently DL. So I made a fun list of a couple of these questions just to run through, give us some things to talk about. I'm going to hit like 5 of them. I'm going to hit the first 5. Or, however many, whatever. If we get off on a tangent, we do. Who's the better cook? Okay. Wait, you cook? I want to go eat. I'm just saying, like, if he cooks.
He cooks very well. Oh my gosh, he cooks very, very well. Tonight was tilapia with
cilantro lime.
Was it cilantro lime tilapia on a bed of couscous, and it was quite lovely.
That sounds delicious. Okay.
Yeah.
And nutritious.
And nutritious. Delicious and nutritious. Our next cooking show coming up soon at a theater near sometime in the eventual future of maybe never.
Probably not.
All right. Who's more organized?
It's not you. It's me. Okay, well, wait. All right. It depends on what you're speaking of in terms of organization, because organization has many different levels, as our friend Melissa will tell us. But organization could be, for instance, work related. When it comes to my organization in the office, yes, I'm very, very organized, on top of things. I know where everything
Does
is.
she bring that home? No.
And see, I actually have to correct ourselves, because you're more organized with, you want to clean the house, but who does all of the holiday gift shopping? Who does all of the calendar arrangement stuff? Who organizes all of that?
Okay, well then you need to be more specific as to what type of organization that we're talking about here.
So do y'all want to know what I do when I feel like the house is getting a little messy and it needs a little extra attention,
And it works every
I turn
time.
on that show Hoarders and just sit there and watch Hoarders for a few minutes. And next thing I know, DL is up and she is cleaning like a beast.
Him is Marie Kondo.
Mine is
Same
more
thing.
entertaining. Marie Kondo is like so buttoned up and
I want to
like,
watch Hoarders now.
there's too many standards. I want a show where
appeals to
somebody
my
has to park a
OCD.
dumpster in their yard. Okay, come on.
Wow.
And that's
I've
why
never
I
seen the
freak out.
show.
I'm like, no, it's gross. It's disgusting. They find dead animals in people's houses, and there's always poop everywhere. And it just like, I'm like, if you sit and you watch that, you just start getting. It makes me itch.
I mean, it can
makes
just be
me-
like the sink is full of dishes from last night, but suddenly it's going to be spotless in the kitchen. You know, I don't want anybody to think that we live in a hoarder house or anything, but you know, if it's just getting a little out of sorts and it needs some attention, I don't even have to go, hey, you know, maybe we should clean the house. I just turn on Hoarders and it happens organically.
That's wonderful. I want to. I've never seen the show, so now I want to sit down and watch an episode.
Oh, it is a train
It's
wreck
awful.
for sure.
It's awful.
You can't look
I
away.
promise though, you will.
it's
You will
like
look
instant.
away. You will look away to get up and go clean something because all of a sudden you're like, I can't ever let it get to that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Let's go clean. Clean.
Just talking about it, I can feel my skin crawling.
Yeah,
You
it makes
would
me
be surprised
itchy watching
at the
it.
amount of houses that I've cleaned or helped people clean out that would probably make that show.
Yep.
There's been at least 2. I
I've
can
been
think
in a
of.
few in the course of my job that I've walked in and I'm like, wow, this looked like a decent house on the outside. What happened in here?
Out. Okay. Let's see here. Who's the most stubborn? That'd be me. Daryl's not even, or Geek Gumshoe's not even answering. He's like,
No, it's
No, he
me.
pointed at
It's
himself.
me.
It's him.
okay,
I'll
maybe I
admit to
need to
that.
put on my glasses then. Who's the?
But it's
funny
just because I'm always right. I mean, come on. Ow.
one, right?
Yeah. Dude, I'm not even going there.
You don't
I
want to sleep
know
on the
that.
couch tonight? Is that what you're saying?
All right. Who's the funny one?
He is. Yeah, he actually is the funny one. I'm the straight man to everyone. If you've ever noticed this, I am always the straight man.
I can see that. I can very much see you playing off of. That's probably why we work out.
Yeah.
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 See,
think so.
it's like my not lover lover.
You're not lover.
My not lover other lover.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Last
You
one
tell
for right
him
now.
that.
Who believes in aliens the most?
I do not believe in aliens. Oh, what the? Seriously?
Now, actually, neither one of us is really hardcore believers in much of anything like that. We're both skeptical about it. Now, we do both harbor the romantic notion of this is a cool topic. It's very fascinating, and I would like for it to be true. You know, the whole I want to believe thing. I need that poster on my wall. But neither one of us just really buys into much as far as those kind of things. So
I want to believe in ghosts. I don't want to believe in aliens. I'm sorry.
I don't
Ooh, creepy.
buy into the whole I believe. I buy into the theory of there's so many possible planets out there. Now, granted, you know, why haven't we seen any here? Well, we have seen evidence of happenings. We can't pinpoint it or prove any of it. But, you know, we haven't had visitation from them probably because we're terrible.
Yeah.
well, there's that. But
Going back
there's
to what we
also,
said earlier.
you know, you got to think of it this way: the
that
idea,
planet
the arrogance of the idea that somehow every alien civilization out there is like us. You know,
Yeah.
chances are something that lives on another planet is not existing in the same form that we are. Intelligence is relative in the way that it plays out, and the idea that any alien from any planet could come here and exist on this planet without a whole lot of difficulty is just silly. I mean, wherever we go in our own solar system, we would have to be able to self-contain our ability to survive. So why would it stand to reason it would be any different from any other race?
Is that one of the variables in the Fermi paradox?
I could not tell you.
And see, I'm over here like, so not like aliens, but like aliens in spacesuits.
Yeah, and you know, so basically, my thought is, is there a possibility there are creatures living on other planets with their own intelligence? Yeah, chances are that's out there. Are there those that are getting into a circular disc and traveling to our planet and, you know, coming in and breaking out the probes and poking us in the nether regions with it? Probably not.
Why would they want to? I mean, honestly, if they have
It's a fetish.
Kids in the Hall, man. Kids in the Hall said it best. Why is our supreme leader some tremendous butt freak?
That's how they chose to use their superior intelligence to go out and, you know, commit violations against creatures on other planets.
Well, okay, so
Supreme
not
leader's
so
got a
much.
weird fetish.
So not so much the butt freak fetish, you know, not so much that, but why in the world would they even want to be part? I mean, think about it. If they have the capabilities of creating a craft that can go to another planet and the technology to be able to breathe on that other planet, what in the world interest would they have in us?
Yeah, we certainly can't teach them anything.
Sorry, we're parenting over here.
I was gonna say he fell over.
Our toddler wants to climb on the rail of her bed on top of the giant doll house and like live up there like a little goblin or gargoyle. And we're like, no,
It's my bridge.
Look. It's either Benadryl or duct tape, whatever it takes. You just got to do what you got to do.
Combination of both.
Not drugging my kid.
Okay, then duct
We're
tape.
like, here, bribery of Disney movies and snacks, and we'll watch you on the baby monitor. You're good. Oh,
So,
my God.
is that the last question, or do we have more?
Oh, no, there's more. Do you want
All
to
right,
keep going?
let's roll with it. Let's keep going.
Wait, there's more. All right. Who takes longer to text back? Okay.
Dang.
Who said I love you first?
That's a good question.
I have no idea.
I don't know. We've never been one of those couples that kind of keeps record of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll tell you what I did last week that made her mad, but you know, as far as that kind of stuff.
Also, it's been a while, so I mean, we've
been together a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we've been married for
300 years.
Yeah, and we dated prior to that for about 300 more. So it's been 600 years in total. It's been 600 years.
525,000.
600 years.
Love you for 1,000 more.
Oh, you're cute. I love you. All right. La la la. Who's the pickier eater?
Me. Oh, me.
What's okay? Hang on. What will you not eat? What are your like no's?
It's not so much that
It rotates.
it's not so much that I don't eat specific foods. I have to be in the mood for it. And yeah, so yeah, I have to be in the mood for it. Otherwise, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
That's fair. What are your no's? Tell them your no's.
Ooh.
It's right there.
There's not much that I want to at least try once, but
Ooga.
I'm very picky with mushrooms.
He is picky with mushrooms, which everyone in the house
Loves them.
loves mushrooms, but he's just like, but I don't want it in my, make it a side.
Yeah.
Don't put it in my stuff.
It's like I love burgundy mushrooms, but I don't want them on things or in things. It's
Are you one of those people that doesn't like your food to touch?
Doesn't matter on certain things. It's really a texture thing on
mushrooms.
certain things. Like
It's just mushrooms.
mushrooms mainly.
I don't want my mushrooms touching anything on my plate.
Pretty much.
All right. Who's most likely to have a favorite serial killer?
I do. I do have a favorite serial killer. By the way, that used to be a ice cream queen.
Okay,
topic.
so Stop. Here's the next question. Who is your spouse's favorite serial killer?
H.H. Holmes.
I
Ed Kemper.
Yes.
Nice.
love you. We're the
See, that's
same.
how you know your loved one when you can name their favorite serial killer.
Someone go back and take a screenshot of when they were doing that because A, it was adorable, yet also creepy.
That's my new desktop right there.
Oh my god.
It's like that's on my cell phone. That's my home screen.
Forever. Who's the better driver?
Not me.
She's terrible.
I'm an awful driver.
She is.
And he
Okay.
thinks
Who's the one that has the most road rage?
Me.
and he's
That's
the,
part of why she's an awful driver. She gets mad at everything.
And I cuss.
Okay, by
so
that
bad.
standard, then yes, she's the better driver.
I'm over here like blasting out to musicals from the 80s or 90s, like singing along at full volume. Everyone's staring at me like I'm an out there
She's like,
person.
"Meow."
Look. Here's the standard by which I apply my theory that she is the worst driver. So I was a cop for 26 years. Every once in a while, she would come and going, I met someone you know today. I'm like, how fast were you going?
Mhm.
That's how she met people I worked with.
Yep.
That's
Quite a few.
She came home when they first started putting in red light cameras in this
Stop.
area.
Stop.
She came home one day with 2 red light tickets at the same camera in the same day, going in 2 different directions.
It was malfunctioning.
It was not malfunctioning.
was
It sent a
malfunctioning.
picture of it.
No, it was malfunctioning.
So, yeah, she still to this day will argue that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you have frozen. I don't know if it's us or you. I'm afraid that if I keep talking and they're also talking but not frozen,
Are we
There we
back?
go.
then
We're
oh,
back.
they're back.
Ha!
That was weird.
Okay.
Somebody didn't like what I had to say.
It's me.
NSA is listening,
It was
man.
me.
It was me.
All right. Who's more creative?
That's a relative thing with us because both of us are very creative people.
Same.
And we have creative aspects in very different directions. So I don't know that you could really say that either one of us is more creative. We're just differently creative.
I mean,
She's the
you're
more
also
creative?
very creative.
That's why I'm pointing at me and at you.
Oh,
Okay.
it just to me it looks like you're just double pointing at me. I can't see it.
So I'm just curious, when it comes to the both parties in your marriage being creative, or is it complementary? Is it
Yes.
something where he's okay? Because that's kind of how we are. We're very complementary to one another when it comes to creative outlets.
Yeah. I can't. I say I can't draw. I can draw about like this much. He can draw. Very, very creative. Whenever I knew, like, hey, I need something for my something online. Can you please? Here's a very weird drawing and like a bunch of notes as to what colors and textures
Like
can you
Stickman.
make it a thing? And then he can do the thing. What about y'all? What is your complimentary?
He's a photographer and a videographer. I am a post editor when it comes to photography. I do graphic design. And once again, he's also a photographer and I'm a cosplayer. I'm very much like you in terms of I have art skills, but sometimes my art skills get a little bit rushed. It's like I can draw some things, but I'm not a great artist by any stretch. So like my cosplay designs are usually on stick figures.
See?
She'll draw a picture and go, "This is the cosplay I want to do." I'm like, dude, that's a stick man.
I know, but there's notes all around it. I know exactly what I'm doing.
How do you cosplay Hangman?
There's your next cosplay right there.
I I also do like event planning and stuff like that, and having somebody who understands, like for instance, with the food and food preparation and presentation, that's always a plus. So yeah, we have a lot of things that are just complementary to one another.
And music. I mean,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have the band together, and that's one of the more creative things that we do as a couple. So
Random plug. If you want to listen to some great music, check out The Murdering Crows on Spotify.
Thank you.
or wherever you buy your digital music.
There.
Somewhere we've got a picture of that, but I don't know if it's
You keep digging. I'm going to say
I
the
don't know
next
whose
question.
brand it's on.
All right. Who's better at keeping surprises?
it's right there. Hang on.
Oh, wait. We're waiting.
That's the band.
Nice.
Yay.
Who's better
All right.
at keeping surprise? Not. Actually, yeah, I'm actually pretty good at it, but we have this. He's good at keeping surprises. He will not tell anything. I have this game that I like to play when it comes to like holiday gift giving.
Yeah, she drops hints.
I drop, no, not necessarily hints. I drop wrong hints. It's like everything I tell him, it's like, it's mustard yellow, because that's like the one color he hates. It's like, I got you something, it's mustard yellow. It's like,
I hope you're gonna like it. I know you don't like mustard yellow, but I think you're gonna like this particular thing.
that's fair.
Noted. Does
Oh,
not
that's
like mustard
great.
yellow. Okay.
He
Yeah.
thinks
Color palette gone.
Right. He says I'm good at keeping surprises, but I'm really bad at waiting until this. Like I start Christmas shopping. I've already started Christmas shopping. And like the
Yes.
first item that came in, I was like, can I give it to them already?
That's me. Oh my gosh. I cannot
Oh
wait.
yeah. She spends half of the Christmas holiday trying to figure out ways to give people their gifts already.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm awful.
Same.
But also, I will say that this comes from growing up in a household that I did. My brother and I used to have this fun, like holiday tradition where we would try to figure out what our gifts were before anybody else. And so I know how to perfectly wrap and unwrap a gift. I know how to slice through tape so nobody can tell. I'm very good at that. I can unwrap a gift and rewrap it, and nobody will ever know that I touched it.
And see, I don't want to know. I don't like to know what I've got. The most disappointing things for me are if somebody lets it slip what they got me for Christmas. It takes all the fun out of it for me. I like not knowing right up until the last minute.
That's you as well. Yeah. All right.
Don't ruin the surprise.
Don't ruin the surprise. All right. Who's more likely to get lost?
Me.
She
Me.
okay. Funny, but maybe not so funny story. So DL had a friend from work that passed away.
Oh.
And she was going to the funeral. The funeral was out in Millington. And so she set her GPS and she called me in absolute meltdown mode because the GPS was taking her all kinds of different ways and she just could not figure out where she was supposed to be. And I had to tell her, look, just turn around and go back home because you're not in any condition to try to go to a funeral if you're already melting down and crying and having a hard time with this. So maybe just go home and send out your good wishes or whatever. But she ended up not being able to go to the funeral because she got completely lost. And of course, the more emotional she became, the less likely she was to get back on the path. But there have been several instances where she's had to go someplace and using GPS, she still got completely lost in the process.
I will say this, the GPS, I plugged in the address for the funeral home and it took me to a field far away from just the general area. It dropped me I don't know what the issue was with it, but it dropped me somewhere and it kept telling me, turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here. And I'm just like, I don't feel like this is correct, but it could be. And yeah, it was, yeah.
I've
And then you just get
very many similar stories to that. I'm going to tell one real quick. Actually, I had, this is when I was working at a big, giant organization that if I named, everyone would know. And we had training, but it wasn't at work. They had rented out a hotel that I had never been at. And so I didn't know how to get there. I just had the address and I knew I had to be there at this specific time. So I plug in the address and I start driving how to get out of my neighborhood. Well, the GPS, for some reason, kept trying to switch it to how to walk there. And I'm like, no, go back to how to drive there. And it kept switching to walk, kept switching to walk. So I pull over on the side of the road before I jump out on the main road from our neighborhood. And this lady comes up behind me. And I guess because my car was still on, she got mad. And instead of going around me, because I was pulled over, started honking at me. And so I'm like, okay. And so I pull out on the main road. I go down a little bit. I turn back into the neighborhood on the next road and pull my phone back out, trying to figure out what's going on with my GPS. I need to figure out where I'm going. I'm going to be late for work for this giant thing we're supposed to be doing. So she drives down the main road a little bit, stops in the middle of the main road now, and is turned around staring at me, like staring buckets at me. And I'm sitting here like messing with my phone, and I look up and they're sitting in the middle of the main road now. And I'm like, what are you? I do the hand up like, what are you doing? And I go back to my phone.
What are you doing?
Well,
Sorry.
that's what they thought I did apparently, because they slammed on their gas and did like a donut in the middle of the main road and came back and started screaming at me full force. Did you just flip me off? Why are you on your phone? Get off your phone. And I'm like, I'm lost. I'm pulled over on the side of the road. Like I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. She lost it, just kept screaming at me. And finally I got fed up and I put my car in park and I started to open that door to get out. And as soon as I did that, she was like, whoop, and took off.
Whoop.
I was
So
mad. I was
Yeah.
so mad. I was shaking. I called him and I was.
And then I had to look it up and found out that AT&T was having a huge network outage that day.
But yeah, this lady, I don't know what her deal was. Both times, like you could have gone around me and you could have just kept on going. Like I don't know why you stopped in the middle of a main road to stare at me and hold up traffic. Like, what is your deal? Anyway, that was one of my stories.
So I have to go back to the beginning of that story. I'm just trying to picture the pitch for this training session. Like, hey, Lauren, so we're going to do this training thing. I want you to meet me at a hotel. At what point do you go, hold up?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. they had
Wait,
rented out the
most-
conference room. Oh, they're frozen again.
We can still hear you.
Oh,
There we
there you
go.
are. Ha-ha.
Is it messing up again?
Yeah.
Oh,
I told you I think that our internet's
I'll get that later.
kind of doing weird stuff.
Black's bedroom.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. All right, so I've got a true crime, or I guess a unsolved case that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit tonight. And as we get to the end of it, we're going to see why I chose this case, why it's relevant right now. So, Joey the Roadie, you don't get to answer this question.
Oh.
So, have any of y'all ever heard of the Somerton Man case?
No, I have not.
This one has
He's
apparently
vibrating.
jumping.
Joey is
Shut up,
vibrating.
Joey the Roadie. You don't get to answer this.
Shut up, Joey.
You can't sit.
Okay, so all right, so here's the background of the case. On December 1st, 1948, the police were contacted after the body of a man was discovered on Somerton Park Beach in South Australia. The man was found lying on his back with his head resting against the seawall, his legs extended and his feet crossed, indicating that he had probably died while he was sleeping. He looked very relaxed, and people didn't really pay him much mind until they realized, hey, this dude's croaked over here, so we need to tell somebody about it. An unlit cigarette was on his right collar of his coat. A search of his pockets revealed an unused second-class rail ticket, a bus ticket, an aluminum comb, and a half-empty packet of juicy fruit chewing gum. An Army Club cigarette pack, which contained 7 cigarettes of a different brand. So I don't know if this guy was like reusing the pack that he had or whatever, and just shoving whatever cigarettes he could find in it. But
Or in the packs get crushed.
Or maybe asking.
Yeah.
Bumming.
and he had a quarter full pack of matches in his pocket. An autopsy showed that his last meal was a pastry eaten about 3 to 4 hours before he died, but tests failed to reveal any foreign substance in his body. A pathologist concluded that death could not have been natural, but the result of poisoning. Although poisoning remained his prime suspicion, the pastry was not believed to be the source. Other than that, the coroner was unable to reach any conclusions to the man's identity or the cause of his death. The body was then embalmed on December 10th of 1948 after the police were unable to get a positive identification. On the 14th of January, 1949, the staff at the Adelaide Railway Station discovered a brown suitcase with its label removed, which had been checked into the station cloakroom after 11 a.m. on the 30th of November, 1948. So this was the day before the discovery of the body that this suitcase was checked in at the station. And it took them about a month and a half to figure out that this might have something to do with this dude. It was believed that the suitcase was owned by the man found on the beach, and in the case were clothing items, an electrician's screwdriver, a table knife that was cut down into a short, sharp instrument, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a small square of zinc thought to have been used as a protective sheath for the knife and scissors, and a stenciling brush, such as one that was often used for stenciling cargo. Also in the suitcase was a thread, a card of thread. It was brand orange waxed thread, and it was a type that was not available in Australia. But it was the same kind of thread that was used to repair the inner lining of a pocket in the trousers found on the Somerton man. So they were able to tie the suitcase pretty solidly to the body found on the beach based on the fact that he had fixed his pants with the same thread that was in his suitcase.
Yeah.
All identification marks on his clothes had been removed, but or in the clothes that were in the suitcase, all the identification marks were removed. But the police found the name T. Keane, Keane, that was written on a tie. Now, keep in mind, back then people labeled their clothes. They wrote their names and everything.
What year is this again?
Do what?
What year was this again?
1948.
48. Okay.
Yeah. The word Keane, Keane, on a laundry bag, and Keane, Kean, written on an undershirt. Police believe that whoever removed the clothing tags either overlooked these three items or purposely left the name Keane on the tags, knowing that that was not the man's name. So with wartime rationing still in effect, the clothing was difficult to acquire at that time. So it was common practice to buy secondhand clothing. And usually people would take out the name tags that had the other person's name on it, the previous owner's name. But in this case, they were left on those particular items. Now, what was curious was that in the suitcase, there was no spare socks found. There was no correspondence, but the police did find pencils and unused stationery in the suitcase. Around the same time as the inquest, a tiny piece of rolled up paper with the words Timon Should printed on it was found in the Somerton man's fob pocket on his trousers. The phrase means ended or finished and is found on the last page of a book called The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Police conducted an Australia-wide search to find a copy of the book that had a similar missing page from it, and a picture of the scrapped page was released to the press to be distributed throughout the country. Following a public appeal by the police, a copy of the Rubaiyat was, and from which that same page had been torn, was located. The man came forward and showed police a 1941 edition of the book, and the man who had found the book had not considered that it might be connected to the case until he saw the article in the paper where the police were asking about this particular book. Now, most accounts will state that the book was found in an unlocked car parked on the side of the road, and it was either in the rear floor well or on the back seat. But there are various accounts of how and when the book came to light, including some that say the book was found before the man's body was ever found. Now, in this book, there was a telephone number that was found that happened to belong to a nurse named Jessica Ellen Joe Thompson, who lived about 1,300 feet from the location where the body was found. When she was interviewed by the police, Thompson said she didn't know the man or why he would have her phone number in that book. When she was shown the plaster cast bust of the dead man, they at that time with unidentified bodies especially, they would do a death mask, which in the event that they needed somebody to come and do an identification later on down the line, they would maintain that. So she was shown a bust made from this death mask mold. When she was interviewed by the police, she said she didn't know the man or why he would have her phone number in that book. But when she was shown the plaster cast bust of the dead man, the interviewer said that her response was that she was completely taken aback to the point of giving the appearance that she was about to faint. An interviewer many years later, the technician who made the cast and was present when it was shown to her, noted that after looking at the bust, she immediately looked away and wouldn't look back at it again.
So she knew it.
Yeah,
That's what
Oh,
the
yeah.
belief was. There's been that word persistent. There's been persistent speculation that the dead man was a spy due to the circumstances and historical context of his death and the association of the Rubaiyat book. I lost my spot here. At least the location where the body was recovered, there was at least 2 sites of interest to Cold War activity, including the Radium Hill uranium mine and the Woomera test range, which was a military research facility. Both were somewhat nearby the area where the body was found. For decades, the common belief was that the Somerton man was a spy and had taken a lethal dose of poison in a deliberate move to take himself out. There was also a very strong belief that he had been involved in a relationship with the nurse, Joe Thompson, that had resulted in a child. Joe's son had strong genetic features similar to the Somerton man, and that solidified the belief that they were related. So this has gone on ever since 1948. This has been one of these great international unsolved crimes. This guy was believed to be a Russian spy. There was all these connections to the United States. There was a number of different things that indicated that this guy was anything but just a random body found on the beach. So let's fast forward a little bit to the last couple of years. The body was exhumed on May 19th of 2021 in an effort to do some DNA comparisons on the body. On July 26th of 2022, genealogists were able to make a strong case for the identity of the Somerton man. They determined that the man was a guy known as Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker. He was the youngest of 6 children, and DNA identification was made from strands of hair found in the plaster death mask made by the South Australian police in 1948. They were actually able to find hair still stuck in that plaster that provided enough DNA to do comparisons, to the body, as well as do some genetic tracking on him. One of the first things that was done once the DNA was obtained was they did a comparison of the DNA to the Thompson family, the nurse Joe Thompson. And it was determined that Joe Thompson's son was in no way related to the Somerton man. So it was completely dismissed that he had any kind of parental association with that kid. Through an investigation by the geneticist, matches were found for descendants of 2 first cousins of Charles Webb, both on the paternal and the maternal side, indicating a high likelihood that the Somerton man was in fact Charles Webb. Webb had resided in Victoria and had a brother-in-law named Thomas Keene, who lived about 20-minute drive from him, which would explain the name on some of the clothes that were linked to that briefcase belonging to the Somerton man. The strongest and final factor in the identification is that there is no death record that exists for Charles Webb. At some point, Charles Webb disappeared off the face of the planet and nobody was able to track his death. The latest records were in April of 1947 when he left his wife Dorothy, after which she filed for divorce. South Australia police have not verified the results, but stated they were cautiously optimistic that this may provide a breakthrough and may be the actual solution in the case of the Somerton man.
Wow. I have so many questions too.
Questions?
Kind of question and lead at the same time.
Yeah.
Didn't Dorothy know Joe?
I don't know.
I thought that was research that Dorothy knew Joe. And
there's a possibility. I hadn't seen that. But I did find one thing interesting. If you remember, one of the things that was found in the suitcase was an electrical screwdriver.
Yeah.
And the fact that Charles Webb was an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the tools that they found were very similar to things that an electrician might have used in the course of his work.
The hook knife with the wire stripper on it.
That's what I was thinking. Mike, yes.
Lace cigarette, Mike. Yep.
Yes, that's what I know that they said that there was a pack and then like an unlit cigarette here.
Yep.
But the first thing that I was whispering to Joey over here, like, the cigarettes, and he's like, but it was unlit, and I was like, that doesn't mean he didn't smoke one before.
True.
And apparently he was an avid smoker. I mean, the
Yeah.
evidence presented that he did smoke a lot, and apparently he would just gather cigarettes, shove them into a pack, and go do his thing. But then again, everybody in 1948 smoked. The doctors were telling him it was good for him. So
That's
it
very
was a
true.
very different era.
Now, if he had a bunch of cigarettes, were the cigarettes ever checked? Do we know? Is it listed anywhere?
Here's the thing with a case like this. There's a lot of threads that either are unconfirmed or are speculation or what have you. Like one of the questions that I had was, we had this page that was supposedly torn out of the book that he had in his pocket. But I don't see anything mentioned about whether anyone actually took that piece of paper and coupled it up with the book to see if it matches the book itself. And the book is one of those kind of speculative things as far as the way that it was found, the provenance of it and whatnot, as far as if it was actually, a piece of evidence. But it creates so many different spider webs to this story that, because if it was not the same book and it had this lady's phone number in it, what was that connection? And why did she say she didn't know this guy, but clearly appeared to be, misleading the investigators when they were asking about it? And in fact, she even went so far as to contact the police department and say, I need you to expunge my name from these records and use an alias when referring to my connection to this case.
Wow.
And they did that. And for a long time, any writings about the case contained pseudonyms for Joe Thompson instead of actually using her name.
I have so many
kind of
questions.
I
Like,
wonder if
I
she chose
wanted-
to do a pseudonym just so she would not be. Because I mean, if you think about it, you have sites like the Amityville House that was such such controversy, and people still go by and stop, and even though they've taken the windows out, they've actually changed the address. So I'm kind of wondering if she kind of got the peepers that were wanting to come and see the woman associated, and so maybe she chose to change her name, or not change her name, but use a pseudonym, be expunged from the records, just so people could not track her down and harass her.
But here's the thing with that. This is 1948. This is long before the internet and the availability of information. In fact, it was so isolated that this guy was not from that far away from where his body was found. He was Australian, and that's one of the things that throws off people that have been following this story for a long time, is they so desperately wanted him to be a Russian spy, and to find out that he's not only not a Russian spy, but he is a local guy to some extent. I mean, it wasn't, right around the corner by any means, but obviously it was far enough away that news stories about it could go completely unnoticed. This guy's wife was still alive. And had they shown him in the paper, she would have recognized him.
There was one speculative thread on that, is that I believe they were thinking, because speaking of thread, the orange thread that wasn't available in Australia,
right?
Like he had left Australia, traveled to wherever the thread was available, and then comes back and then finds out, oh, hey, she filed for divorce.
And see, I have so many questions. I want to know, was an autopsy done? Was there any other sort of life-threatening, like a cancer? Was there any other reason why this person would have been? No, he was perfectly healthy. Okay.
They were not able to determine anything that, other than the fact that he was currently going through a divorce. He had walked away from his relationship with his wife, and in turn she filed for divorce. So it's possible that he was wanting to reconcile with her, and she just wasn't having it, or what have you. Or maybe he blamed himself for the marriage falling apart. There's any number. Obviously, there was a certain amount of depression that was involved in this, given the fact that he clearly took a dose of some kind of poison in order to take himself off the board.
But the truth is,
I could argue
poisoned himself. We don't know
That-
if he poisoned himself or somebody else poisoned him.
Right, and it could have been an accidental poisoning from like a lace cigarette that
that he had
picked up off the
bummed off
ground.
of somebody,
Right.
or
Because typically men don't take themselves out
with
with
poison.
Right.
That's more of a
It's a-
feminine.
That's a woman
poison-
thing,
that's
for
a
sure.
woman thing, Yeah.
You know, maybe his wife bought him a pack of cigarettes and told him to hit, pound dirt somewhere.
Yeah.
and then he
Dum,
pounded
dum,
dirt
dum.
a few
Yeah.
hundred feet from where the car was.
I also want to know, what was life insurance like back then? Because, like, did he have no identification and all of that on him on purpose? Was he trying to be a nobody? And, like, did they have children with
Well,
the
you-
wife? Where would the insurance go?
You have to have a death certificate for life insurance.
Which happens after 7
Right.
years. At least in this country. I don't know about Australia, but
Well, I think she divorced him based on abandonment.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
she wouldn't. Basically, they didn't realize that Charles, is that his name? Charles
Charles.
was dead. That he just disappeared
And
and ran away.
That could have been it too. That may have been the reason why he did things the way that he did. Either, removing the tags would have been something to prevent her from ever finding out that he was dead, or from, the police figuring out who he was and notifying her. And I mean, who knows what his intent was? It's really hard to say what was in the mind of a person, especially back in 1948.
yeah.
Things were so different back then, and trying to understand what was in his head is just, I don't think anybody today could really grasp that. But trying to, for so long, everybody was like, well, obviously he took the poison because he was a spy, and maybe he had been compromised and had to kind of check out. And so he took the cyanide pill and blah, 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 blah. And that's what people have been running with for decades with this case. And then to find out that he's just some Joe Schmo electrician from, down the street, Australia, that chose this beach to go and enjoy his final sunset on. Some people just don't find that to be as interesting or romantic a storyline as the Russian spy story.
So I have a question. I may be getting two cases confused here, because there was a case that when you started talking about this, I was like, oh, I know this case. I remember them talking about it online, and like, there was this guy, he'd cut all the tags out of his clothes, and he would walk around and he would like slowly throw away things in different trash cans
Different
around
case.
town. It's a different case?
Completely different case.
Okay.
There's actually
Okay.
several very similar cases. There's one that was talked about on the new Netflix Unsolved Mysteries, but it involved a woman.
Yes.
And it was the same kind of thing. She didn't have any identifying
It's her.
stuff, and they were unable to figure out who she was. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they thought she was a spy too, because of the nature of some of the
Oh, we
stuff
did
that was
watch
going
that.
on.
Mhm.
So, I mean, obviously there's a
Maybe
formula to this when it comes
Mhm.
time to want to check out, but you want to either confuse people, or maybe you just don't want your family hurt by finding out that this is the way you chose to go out. And so they never can call and tell your family what happened. It's hard to say exactly why somebody would do that, but it does definitely create a legend in its
Mhm.
wake. And it's fascinating to me because cases that old are very hard to prove, just based on the fact that, for one, there's very little physical evidence left normally, and the fact that everything just has to be done based on circumstantial stuff. But the introduction of the familial DNA and the things that are happening with that are just absolutely astounding. And the ability to go back to a case that old and maybe have some final conclusion to it after all these years.
So the case that he's referencing from Unsolved Mystery is the Oslo woman.
Mhm.
And in 2020, like October 2020, they are now speculating that her name is Jennifer Fairgate. I don't know all the details to it, but I would imagine
That'll be
also,
another show.
That'll be another show. I would imagine that's kind of another type situation where, these DNA services that are, what are the DNA services? Like, there's one through Ancestry and
Ancestry.com.
23andMe.
23andMe.
Yeah. So these are, you have these sites that are collecting DNA for, to be able to track your lineage. But the truth is, it's also creating an avenue that we might be able to solve some of these unsolved murders that have been sitting out there for so long, as more people do this. And I'll be honest with you, my family's done it. Your family's done it. So,
We're soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am waiting for the day to where we go in and do the thing, and they give me a call and be like, "Hey, do you have an great uncle?" Da da da, and I'm like, "I have no idea, but they're probably guilty." Just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was the thing that broke the Golden State Killer
Yeah.
case and solidified the entire future for Paul Holes, the guy that was the DNA analyst that broke that case. I mean, now he's out doing the circuit and doing appearances and getting paid large sums of money to do his podcast and all this other stuff, just because he happened to be the guy that broke the Golden State Killer case using familial DNA.
Wasn't he at the and I think that we've actually discussed this on an Ice Cream Queen show. Wasn't he at the True Crime
The Crime Con, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I want to go to the Crime Con so bad, so bad. I feel like this
I
needs
do
to
too.
happen.
Road trip.
That would be the ultimate podcast for us to do a show from Crime Con. That would be so cool. But guys, looking at the clock, we are officially over the hour. And so we
Where's the
survived
ticker?
this one, and it's about time to wrap this show up. What's that comment say? I can't read it.
Okay,
So-
let me zoom in. Oh, you go ahead. If you can see it, we can't
It's
see
amazing how some DNA can reopen cold cases and overthrow the common consensus and flip it all upside down.
I
Yep,
do one thing I
absolutely.
want to say real quick in here. There is a site on Facebook, or it's a group you can join. It is called DNA Solves Advocates, where they talk about cold cases like this. They do fundraising to try and get the funds to be able to do all of this testing to try and solve all of these unsolved cases. They're a very interesting group if you want to help or if you want to volunteer anytime, or even if you just want to look on there and be like, do I know this person? Anything like that helps. Once again, that's DNA Solves Advocates.
it. Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think we probably need to wrap this thing up and shut her down. And we appreciate everybody that stayed with us through the show and the people that dropped comments in here. We hope you
Yes.
enjoyed the program this evening. It was a little different from what you probably normally would find when you come over here on the fifth Sunday. But we had fun doing it and hanging out with our significant others. And we'll see if anybody wants to. We'll see if anybody wants to have us back to do this again, or if you're going to send letters and go, God, please get those people off the air. They do not need to be here.
You know what? I'm convinced there are more people out there, at least within our network, that want to hear awesome true crime stories. And that's kind of what that's us. We love talking true crime.
Yeah.
Favorite serial killer?
Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to sign off. And with that,
Pleasant Scream.
Scream.
That's my line.
That's her line.